Hey Premier patrons, Justin Barlow here. Welcome back to finally a new edition of the Premier Planet podcast. Before we start this episode, I want to send a big thank you out to all of you for your patience. We went dormant for a few months, we took a little time off for the holidays and had every intention of kicking right back off after the new year, but then, as it so often does, life threw me a curveball and I ended up breaking my leg in 2 places, which required surgery, so I've been focusing on resting and healing up, but now that I'm back on my feet, both figuratively and literally, we're going to fire this podcast back up on all cylinders. We've got some great guests coming your way in the coming months, and today we're coming back super strong, because joining us on this edition is a guy who, in just a couple short years, has made tremendous waves not only in Premier Pro Wrestling, but also on national television. He is a multiple-time PPW World Tag Team Champion, a PPW Challenge Pro Champion, and was a finalist on Season 11 of the hugely popular American Ninja Warrior television series, where he made it all the way to the finals in his very first appearance on the program. The one and only Semsei is with us today, and he's going to give us a little peek into his world. We're going to learn what made him want to pursue professional wrestling and what makes Ninja Warrior such a huge passion in his life. So without further ado, here's Semsei. So Sem, thank you so much for joining us on the Premier Planet podcast, taking time out of your high-demand schedule. You're a popular man these days. You're PPW multiple-time tag team champion, Challenge Pro Champion, American Ninja Warrior, so we appreciate you taking some time to talk to us today. So why don't we get right into it? And first question I want to ask that I always ask is, what made you want to pursue professional wrestling?
Man, I think the same thing that makes everybody else love wrestling. It's just the storytelling from my era where I grew up watching it was kind of like John Cena era a little bit, because John Cena was the first wrestler that I kind of watched. And if you look at John Cena, he's a big star in itself, and it's he could go out to the ring, make a crowd cheer for him, or make a crowd, boo him. And it's just that storytelling, that just got me into it.
Yeah, kind of that suspension of disbelief, getting lost in the fantasy. That's what always drew me to it, too. I've never really been a sports guy, but I've always loved wrestling for that aspect.
Yeah, definitely, especially around the time when he was going against Batista. It was, to me, John Cena could never win against Batista, because Batista was just a freak of an athlete.
He was a monster,
and for me to watch as a kid, and for me to see a person like John Cena beat Batista, it was crazy, surreal. And it was if I could do that, if I could put myself in those shoes and just take on whoever it is, that's a dream.
Yeah, and I think everybody deep down really likes those underdog stories,
Yeah, of course.
You had Cena and Batista, way back when you had Hogan and Andre. You know, everybody loves to see David overcome Goliath, so I get where you're coming from with that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned John Cena. Did you have any other favorite wrestlers or influences who you were watching growing up who inspired you to pursue this path?
It's kind of different. When I first started out, it was kind of the John Cena, where it was that larger than life, underdog type of person. But then as you start actually training and actually watching and actually studying wrestling, it changes to for me at least, it's Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, those guys that could do it in the ring back then. I watched a little bit of Chris Jericho, all those guys from the WCW type of thing, kind of picking things from that era a little bit. And then kind of going to more modern kind of strength, since I do kind of a hybrid, I guess, of wrestling. It's a little different. So I pull from anything from Randy Orton, just because of his smoothness and efficiency in the ring. It's just to have that and just have the speed and just all that combined it's great.
So you just passed, I think, 2 years with Premier Pro Wrestling.
2 years.
Yeah. So looking back on that time, and I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you've had a shorter career than a lot of other people. But looking back off the top of your head, do you have any can you recall any like matches you thought that you've had that were just really good? Some of your favorites that you've had in your time with Premier, favorite opponents, anything like that?
With me, it's got to be, man, like the tag matches with Inestra. With him, and then maybe like I think it was PPW 200. We went against like Chase and Anakin. There was a couple times where we went against them, and it was just like, the crowd was into it. We were just on our game, both teams, and just we like, just went all out. But I think 200, like it stands in my mind. Just recently, the triple threat with Inestra and Matt. Even though me and Inestra are like buddies, it was very good. It was like just the movement kept going. It just flowed, and people were cheering for it, and it was a good time.
Yeah, and you've definitely had a chance to work with some really top talent in the company. I mean, you mentioned Inestra, who's obviously PPW World Heavyweight Champion 2 times now, multiple-time tag team champion with you. Chase Gosling, former 3-time PPW champion, multiple-time tag champion in his own right, and like you, a former Challenge Pro Cup winner, as was Inestra. Mm-hmm. Anakin, who's obviously on fire at this point. I mean, such a young kid, but already has a huge following, really comfortable in the air, and also kind of that underdog type. So yeah, a lot of really good talent you've had a chance to work with in just 2 short years. So going off of that, like, what are really your favorite things about being in professional wrestling and going out there as a professional wrestler?
One is the athleticism. Just like, I was a wrestler in high school, so it was like that athleticism, just like being out there and going head to head with somebody. Doesn't matter what size. In wrestling in high school, it's like you got to go by weight class, but in professional wrestling, you go against whoever. So it's like, one, that part, but then also going out there and just being able to like get that crowd reaction, whether you're trying to get them to like boo you or get them to cheer you. There's no other feeling, I think, than going out there and having a crowd like trying to diss you or trying to boo you in a certain way, and you get to interact with that and actually like feel that energy in that ring.
Yeah, and you get cheered, great. You get booed, great. What you don't want is that dead silence.
Yeah,
just
dead silence is not what you want.
Yeah, and
nobody wants that.
And as an MC, I've had that before, especially like early on when I started, and I wasn't really comfortable like on the microphone yet. I would try and get a crowd reaction, and they would just like give me nothing, and it's just like, oh, it's such a horrible feeling when you're trying to be an entertainer.
Yeah, that's the hard part. That was definitely me at the beginning. It was hard because I was kind of like a shy kid. I thought it'd be pretty easy with the stuff that I've done, but like I was still kind of shy when I started out, and like I kind of didn't want to talk because I kind of didn't want to make myself kind of feel stupid in a way. But you just break out of that shell and you just get those crowd reactions.
Yeah. Well, whether or not anybody likes him or hates him or is indifferent to him, I mean, you've had quite a mentor in Inestra, because Inestra, is obviously, as you know from your own experience, a great talker on the mic. So yeah, I know he helped you come out of your shell in a lot of ways.
Yeah, he's definitely stepped up and been that kind of mentor, especially with the breaking out of my shell part. Just because I see him, not caring, or at least, not caring about what other people think about him. So it's like if, I go in there and I got him by my side, I got him backing me up, it's like I don't care about whoever thinks about me, whatever I sound like, whatever I present myself as. It's just just us.
Yeah, and Premier is definitely a place where you can come out of your shell, because I mean, I've seen so many people who have come in and their very first promo, it's like they're just standing there stiff and they're almost kind of like reading off an internal script. Like even Inestra, I remember when he started, God, what was that, 4 or 5 years ago now. I mean, the first time he cut a promo, it was just like, if you were to watch that versus like one of his promos now, it's like night and day at how comfortable he's gotten how his charisma's evolved, and then like obviously that rubbed off on you. And
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely. Beginning like it's definitely like what you said, like that internal like script, because you don't want to mess up, you don't want to do like a retake, or you don't want to make yourself sound like a fool. You want it to be like perfect, but like with everybody, nobody's perfect, and you just got to keep practicing and practicing and practicing, and with that confidence, it just becomes easier over time. Like I just watched a recent promo that I did, and I think it's great, but it's not where I want it to be. You could always improve, always get better. But then I look at it from promos from way, way, way before, like when I first started, and it's like, geez, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Just it's cringeworthy.
Yeah, but it's also a confidence booster to realize, how far you've come. I look back at some of my old post shows, and like, back when I was the Or and the Fedora, and that's like looking back at, an old picture in high school and looking back at your haircut and just going, what the hell was I thinking with that? But
yeah.
But like looking at those and just like the delivery on stuff, and just like, hey, Premier Planet, we just wrapped up PPW blah blah blah, and wow, what a night it was. Yeah. Now it's like, yeah, but the more practice you get, the better off you get at it. And I have people today saying like, oh, Inestra, Semsei, I don't really like their attitude, but man, those guys cut a great promo. I always laugh. And
yeah, we always try to have that laugh factor to it, because if you're too serious, it's like, yeah, it's okay, but if you could like make somebody laugh, I think there's more of a memory. Like you could remember it a lot more if it's like, oh man, that made me laugh. I remember this joke that they said, and then we bring it back into another promo or something like that. It's like a cool way of like getting back in. If you're serious all the time, everybody does seriousness. You might forget about it. You might not know about that person. If it's like comedy. You remember jokes on TV, and you retell them, or make a reference to it in some point of your life. So that's kind of like what we strive to do. At least what I try to do. Yeah.
But then you turn around and you're able to deliver in the ring, which is also a huge thing. Because that's really what it's about, is, as we were talking about, telling that story inside the ring. Mm-hmm. So, moving on, obviously, you've already accomplished a lot in 2 years. You're a multiple-time tag team champion, Challenge Pro Champion. You've been under the tutelage of a 2-time world heavyweight champion. But what are some of your short-term goals in the industry, whether it be with Premier or like almost a question of where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years. I mean, a lot could happen even in just a year, but for me is to just expand my wrestling knowledge and just to get better at it. I feel that I'm at a good point right now where I'm getting it a little bit. I'm more skilled, I believe, than a lot of wrestlers, but still not at that point where I want to be. And it's just getting that ring working, getting that promo working, just to make myself feel more confident. Definitely loving how we do it every week, but for me, short term and even long term, it's like to get to WWE, where I'm wrestling weekly there, and because that's where I see number one, and I just want to be the best I can be at number one. So short term with 5 years or even just a year, I want to be there in the next couple of years.
Yeah. Well, Premier is definitely the place to get that done. And I mean, I say the plug all the time, but for everybody listening, if you're not already aware, Premier Pro Wrestling, since 2012, has sent 6 people down to NXT for official WWE tryouts. I mean, one of them being Kalisto, who actually got his contract thanks to Premier's connections down there. So, I mean, definitely in the right place to make sure, that gets done. And, I think that's the goal of most everybody on the roster, is they want to get to that next level. They want to get to that tryout, and they want to be able to wow those coaches and, grab that brass ring, which is a WWE contract.
Exactly, yeah.
So, now diverting away from pro wrestling, obviously pro wrestling isn't the only thing you've got going. What you've been known for, especially over the past year on a national scale, is Ninja Warrior. So let's dive into that a little bit. What originally got you interested in Ninja Warrior?
I've always been like a fan of Ninja Warrior. You know, when it's always been on TV, my family and us, and we just been just fans, just watching it. We wouldn't watch it religiously, but we watch it from time to time. My uncle actually was on Ninja Warrior before, and like we would always hear about it. We'd always want to try to see if he was on TV, try to just look him up and just watch it. And there was a point in time in high school. It was my junior year. I was not wrestling anymore, and I needed to do something. And I knew that my uncle had been on the show. He had owned a gym, still owns a gym, but I was like, well, I'm not doing anything. I don't have a job. I might as well just go over here and just try this out. And from that first day, I fell in love with it, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
Nice. So you started training in high school? You said?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. When I was 16, I walked into a ninja gym, and I've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know that there are actually ninja gyms that specialize in Ninja Warrior training. Like they have replicas of all the obstacles, so your warped walls and
it's
your
blown
salmon
up.
ladders and
Yeah, it's blown up ever since. Like there's a whole bunch of gyms. Like back then, it was just that one gym, and now it's expanded. There's I could list like a whole bunch just around this area, you know, and it's grown to big heights. Like after like around like season 7ish, season 8, it's just been growing. So it's good on that part, because then that means more training for me, more places I could go to, different obstacles, and just even just for me, it's a big thing. But for other people around the country, it's just bigger.
yeah, and I think what draws a lot of people to it is how unique it is. I remember I used to watch. It was on a channel we used to have on cable called G4, and
G4.
they used to play the actual the Japanese,
Yeah.
the Sasuke Ninja Warrior. And I mean, over there they are so hardcore about it. But I remember like even my parents who were in their 60s like love that version of Ninja Warrior because it's just so entertaining, especially with the commentary. But you see like how dedicated these athletes are to what they're doing, and now that is translated over not just into American television, but there's a lot of like Russian Ninja Warrior, Australian Ninja Warrior,
Yep,
English
it's
Ninja Warrior.
everywhere.
So yeah, when did you originally try out for the show? Was it this past season that you were on, season 11, or did you try out before that and kind of got told, maybe next time?
No, it was season 11, because a lot of people don't know, like there's an age limit that they have, and it was originally 21. So for me, starting training at 16 and being like decent at it, I still had to wait 5 years just to get a shot at trying to submit a video and trying to submit an application just to get on the show. But then when I was 18, so a year before I competed, they changed the age limit to 19. So I had to wait one more year. 19, I got my shot, submitted a video, and that's how I got on.
Yeah, and bear that in mind too, folks. This man was on national television competing in Ninja Warrior at 19 years old, after already having several runs as PPW Tag Team Champion. And you were Tag Champ on when you actually were on the show, and you went out there with the belt and represented Premier Pro Wrestling. And I even remember, when you had your qualifying run in Cleveland or Cincinnati?
Cincinnati. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But when you had your qualifying run, I was watching it on TV, and I was fanboying out like crazy, just like watching you run. I'm like, come on, Sam, and then like you point to the warp wall. I think you're pointing to the big one. No, don't be stupid, go to the short one. But yeah, it was really an exciting time to see you on there. And like even my mom, who's not a wrestling fan, so she doesn't really keep up with the product, even she would be like, on Monday she would be like, oh, is Sam gonna be on tonight? But yeah, I mean, it was really cool, and it's beyond impressive that in your very first run at 19 years old, you made it all the way to Las Vegas for the finals. You didn't quite make it through, but I think you made it like halfway through that round? I made it
to third obstacle. It wasn't really halfway, but it was definitely fun. It was way different from the Cincinnati vibe. I really liked the way Cincinnati turned out. Liked all the people there. Vegas is a different story, though. It's a different kind of atmosphere. I mean, you're obviously in a different state and everything, but just that level of competition is just way bigger, and it's just way different, you know. And I was calm like the whole time. Cincinnati, Vegas, whatever you want to say, like whatever place I was at, I was totally calm, not nervous at all. But it was just different beasts of obstacles and different in a different way. So it was a little different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, still, I mean, it was surreal to, you know, see one of our guys actually run that and, you know, and make it through that. And on top of that, I know you did a couple of those runs in your wrestling boots. That couldn't have been easy. So.
Oh yeah, the first 2 times that I competed, which was the qualifying and the finals, I wore my boots, and then when I competed in Vegas, I was like, I know I don't want to run in my boots, so I'm gonna get some kick pads and just wear some wrestling shoes under it, which I'm comfortable in. So it was like, so it gave me a little bit advantage. I was more lighter on my feet, and I was able to get through that stage 1, which is timed, unlike the qualifying and the finals.
Yeah, and that's what really tests you. I mean, I remember watching all those years ago the Japanese version, and I mean, even the most finely tuned athletes, you know, they had their all-stars who were like would like do every single run, and like even they would get to that buzzer with only seconds left. So
exactly, yeah. So that's why I knew I had to kick the boots off, and also my boots were kind of wet since I fell in the city finals.
Yeah, but you know, it wasn't enough to stop you. You still made it far enough to move on, and obviously, you know, a lot of people were really impressed. I remember watching, I can't remember their names, Matt and the
Akbar,
host,
Matt and Akbar, yeah.
Yeah, Matt and Akbar. I remember they were really into it. They're wearing the sunglasses. Akbar's got your belt. And,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, that was crazy. It was like, it's crazy to watch on the show and you see them like from the get go and you see them at the beginning. But for me, it's like I personally saw them when I got done with like one of my obstacles. It was like the 3rd or 4th one, and I was like, oh, they're wearing my sunglasses. They have my belt and everything, and that like kind of motivated me a little bit more. And I was like, I want to get by the warped wall just to like, you know, talk to them or see them or do something. So yeah, that definitely is cool, and it definitely helps.
Yeah, and then obviously you had the video packages and all that. So really, I mean, the name Semsei, if anybody follows American Ninja Warrior close enough, I mean, that's a name that people know now on a national level. And so that's got to be, number one, that's got to feel really good. Number two, it's probably just got to be the most surreal feeling you've ever had.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird. It's like, to me, it feels kind of not surreal, but you know, I've gotten stopped a couple times, either at work or other places, like, hey, you were on American Ninja Warrior, or like my buddy that you see on the show too, that's on the sidelines, like he's always telling people that I'm on, and like just getting them into it. It's like, oh yeah, for real? It's like, yeah. My friend, you know, he went all the way to national finals in Las Vegas, this and that, and you know, it just gets super hyped up, and you know, he's like my hype man.
Yeah. Well, I remember after it happened, I recorded it on my phone, and I would just like be sitting there watching it. And, like, you know, someone would be like, oh, are you watching Ninja Warrior? I was like, oh, yeah, I know this guy, you know, it's no big deal, you know. He was on national television last night, you know, no biggie. But, yeah, so are you currently training for another season, or are you taking a little hiatus to focus on wrestling? What are your current Ninja Warrior plans looking like?
Yeah, so current Ninja Warrior plans, I got, like, a little surprise with my video. I've showed a couple people. But it's kind of like a surprise, waiting for the call, if I do get the call, because it's just a waiting game at this point. I did submit. But training-wise, I started about a week ago, just really dialing in, kind of getting my cardio back up, starting training for like grip strength, more grip strength, heavy, and just things of, coursework. Just doing that until hopefully the calls start going around. If I do get a call, you know, amp it up a little bit more until the show starts. But if I don't get a call, then I'll probably lean back a little bit and just take a break and focus on my wrestling.
So this is more so just a question for my own curiosity, but since I grew up a fan of the Japanese Ninja Warrior, have you ever had dreams of actually going out to Japan and running the Mount Midoriyama course?
The one over there, like I've been a fan more of that one per se, because that one's I feel more competitive, more just the competition for the sport of ninja. I feel like the American one is more for the sob stories, that you hear about, or like the drama. It's a reality TV show. I see American Ninja Warrior as. So like for me to do the Japanese version, I would love to do it, but I don't think I have any connections over there, or the closest thing I have is American Ninja Warrior. So if they gave me the shot, they gave me the opportunity, if they put me in connections with that one, I would definitely be there.
Yeah, and I always thought that one would be fun to... I mean, I have no doubt in my mind I probably wouldn't even make it past the first obstacle, that sextuple step, but like just to be there and just to like have the opportunity to run that course, I mean, I think that would just be an amazing experience. And like you said, I mean, and obviously no disrespect whatsoever to the American ninjas, because they do train very hard. They are finely tuned athletes, but
yeah, it's definitely hard.
Yeah, the production of American Ninja Warrior is definitely, I feel like, more reality show based, whereas in Japan it's a little bit more centered on the competition. But what always amazed me about that one is just like how much respect you see like in the competitors over there. Like even though these other people are your competition, you have like these all-stars cheering each other on and trying to coach each other. And then I mean obviously the one thing that always stood out in my mind, and actually before you were on the show, I was kind of passé about American Ninja Warrior because that they let you guys fall into clean water. Yeah, it's like I was so used to like watching people just take spills into this water that was just like stagnant and putrid and looked like you needed a tetanus shot just for like touching it. So I always had that attitude of just like, what is it? What is this? They fall into clean water? What is this nonsense?
Yeah, it was definitely nicer to fall into clean water than the filthy water that they got over there. But I did fall in a couple years back into this water that wasn't so clean. It was at this one local competition, and it was big, and it was like outdoors, and they had like 2 obstacles that were above water. So if you fell in on that obstacle, you fell into water. And like throughout the day, a whole bunch of people getting wet. And just that dirt from being outside, just going into the water, just by the end of the day, for your run, it's just filthy. And it's, I was one of those unlucky people at the time to take a dive. So I definitely know what the difference is when coming up in clean water and that filthy water.
Yeah, but I was always kind of now I can admit I was always kind of like a Ninja Warrior snob because of that, and it was just like, oh, the Japanese, they're so much more hard than the Americans. But then when you were on, I actually watched the American version, and I mean those people deserve a hell of a lot of credit for what they put themselves through just to train.
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing I think with the toughness and the what you put your body through with training and stuff. It's definitely the same aspect. It's just the only thing I see wrong with the American version is the way it's portrayed on TV, the way that the people, the TV time that the people get for the reasons and the stories that they have. That's why when I went on the show, like I went full on wrestling gimmick. Like I wanted to show my side, my happy side, what I'm actually doing, in real life compared to like my past or any sad times that I've had, because then it's like if I relive that, it's cool. It's a cool story to overcome, but it's I think better in my mind to have people remember me for the cool thing that I did. Like I kept up on the show, or I hit a buzzer. I was wearing the wrestling gear. I had the cool shades. I had the belt. I want them to remember me for that instead of some sad story that I had.
Yeah, and I think obviously a few people like Casey Catanzaro entered the world of wrestling after Ninja Warrior, but I think you're the first actual professional wrestler to go into the program as a pro wrestler.
I think so. I know there's been two other people. One was he had one leg. He competed a couple seasons ago, but one was from like a long time ago. But for me, seeing those guys, it was very sad because they put kind of like a thing on wrestlers that they can't do this Ninja Warrior stuff. You know, the guy with one leg, he came out and he was like, man, I wrestle and like I could still do this stuff, but he had one leg. So it's like there's not really a true test to that wrestlers could do this. So like me coming out there, it was like I could do both of these. I could be light and I could go and do crazy things where I'm flying through the air, but then I also could go into the ring and, you know, slam some bodies. So I was very fortunate to do that and be kind of like the first one to do it, like you said.
Yeah, and I think it maybe even opened a lot of people's eyes, because there's, even in the 21st century, there's still this stigma about professional wrestling that, oh, it's fake, and, you know, they're not really trying to hurt each other. These guys aren't real athletes. So I think, you know, you being on the program, going into it as a pro wrestler, I mean, really helped break a lot of those stigmas where you can say, yeah, I'm a pro wrestler, but guess what? I'm an athlete.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
All right. I mean, the man puts fear in his protein shakes. He's not afraid of anything. He said it himself.
Oh, man.
So I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up right there. And Sam, thanks so much for being on this. I guess we can call this the relaunch of the Premier Planet podcast, because we were dormant for so long. But thanks for coming on and sharing your story. And I mean, definitely cheering you on as you pursue not only more championships in pro wrestling and your dreams of getting to WWE, but also in this Ninja Warrior venture that you've taken on.
Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for having me. And I'll be back soon, hopefully.
A big thank you to Semsei, and a big thank you to all you patrons out there on Premier Pro Wrestling's official Patreon page. Again, thank you so much for your patience with our hiatus on the Premier Planet podcast. We're so glad to be back. So thank you for toughing it out with us. And we want to invite you to continue to support Premier Pro Wrestling all over the web. Check us out on social media. Give us a like on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Premier Planet. Hit us up on Insta. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to check us out on our official website, PremierProWrestling.com, where you can shop from our amazing catalog of Premier Pro Wrestling t-shirts, and where you can sign up for PPW On Demand, the only place you can watch all of our studio tapings in their entirety for just $4.99 per month. And just for signing up with PPW On Demand, we're going to give you your first 2 weeks absolutely free. That's right, 2 weeks of unlimited streaming absolutely free just for signing up with PPW On Demand. So again, Premier patrons, thank you so very much for your patience. Thank you so very much for your continued support. I'm Justin Barlow, and we'll see you folks back here for the next installment of the Premier Planet podcast.